Hey guys, it is Tristan with Nerdouts Newsstand, and we are back with another Bad Ideas to talk about Pride. It is, of course, the month of June, so we are taking full advantage of it. And yes, we are going to talk about the issues with Pride, and is it pandering? Not really issues, but last week, so I kind of, you know what? I forgot to ask. How are you today, Bianca?
I'm doing good. My hand kind of hurts.
Your head hurts? I'm sorry.
My hand.
Oh, your hand. What'd you do to your hand?
I keep injuring it somehow. I don't know if it's at work or like if I slept on it or something. My mom will massage it and it'll be better though.
Oh, goodness gracious. So last week we did the video about our favorite queer characters in anime and manga, which I knew there would be a little bit of pushback because anytime you talk about anything related to Pride or to the LGBTQ, for some reason in the last, 5 years, being gay has become political, which is ridiculous in and of itself. But I got some pushback, and I actually don't take kindly to dumbassery, I guess is the best way to put it. So it all kind of started, and I already told you this kind of in private, when I posted the picture of John Kent in the Pride anthology from DC Comics, and there was just so much comments, with pejoratives. We're going to dance around these words like bundles of sticks and that I was regularly, and for somebody that is 100% on the side of free speech, deleting them because I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable coming to my community post or a video or a stream or anything. Well, then I posted our video from last week on the my stories, and I got a little bit more pushback, and I kind of just had fun with it, probably way too much, but like people were saying, like there was one specifically that made me really chuckle because it was, the best of, and then I got somebody saying, bitch, there isn't any. So I just made a little edit with all of my favorite gay characters, which brings us to kind of this video is, why are people so offended at the notion, and why has being part of the LGBTQ community been made political in a sense that there are LGBTQ people on both sides of the political spectrum, but for some reason it's become offensive, and this I cannot wrap my head around. What about you, Bianca?
I mean, I was one of them for the longest time.
So what? Okay, that's actually perfect, because then you can answer this question. Why?
Well, if you're like a conservative who sometimes they are religious, sometimes they are not. I am like the conservative and the religion. So right. Even though I remember like long time ago, I asked my dad about gay people because in middle school I had my first gay friend and I didn't know he was gay despite all the signs.
Right.
Which is why I do not like subtlety in anything because I'm not smart enough to figure it out. If I can't even tell my own friend is gay despite him moving his hips purposely like a woman and, the way he talks and everything, then, I need help.
So what you're telling me is your gaydar is at 0. You cannot. You have no gaydar.
I guess.
I love it.
I remember asking my dad, and he was like, don't hang around with gay people because they will try to convert you onto to being like gay or whatever, which he's never done before. And I'm just like, I would feel bad. just I'm like, sorry, my dad said I can't hang with you because you're gonna try to make me gay. And then my dad was like, all we can do is pray for them. And I said, okay. So that's what I did. I prayed. I don't know how much of a prayer I was as a little kid, but like I wasn't that good at praying anyway. So I prayed for him to like girls again, right? Again, I have no idea how long that lasted. And then there was this one time, they were him and another friend of mine both running at me. And I'm just like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? And they're like, oh my gosh, we have some news for you. And I'm like, what's the news? And that's when my friend was like, oh my gosh, he likes girls again. And I was like, wait, what? And I'm like, huh? What's going on? And I'm like, the prayer worked? And then that's when he said, yeah, I'm bisexual now. And I'm like, oh, well, that I didn't expect that to happen. And I'm just like, okay, so maybe this wasn't the right thing to do. And then as soon as I got older, I asked my dad about it again. I asked him the exact same way. And he was like, well, they exist, but we can't hate them. You know, all we can do is love them. And I'm just like, wait, what the crap? What? You changed your mind? And then I told him what he said like a long time ago. And he was like, I said that? And I was like, yeah, you said that. And he was like, I don't remember saying that. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean you don't remember? This is what you told me in 6th grade. And I kept it in my brain and everything. And he was like, oh, man, I didn't mean to say that and everything. And I like, even for... like my mom, like everybody, like they don't like seeing, you know, anything LGBT on screen. Now that my mom has a Roku, she's just binging everything so much that she kept thinking she was watching like a really long movie that lasted freaking 5 hours. And I'm like, Mom, you're watching a TV series. Look at the episodes. You're on episode 80 something. And she's like, no wonder it was so long. And then there was one time in the car, she was like, okay, so I'm watching the show, and then blah, 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 blah. So there's this gay couple, and I'm like, there's a gay couple? She's like, yeah, there's this gay couple, right? And she's like, oh, da, 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 da. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're watching a show, and there's gay people in it, Mom. I thought I knew you. Just kidding. And so it's like, sometimes she will be like, oh my gosh, stop showing the gay people. And then, but she still watches it.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, well, you're still watching it. She's like, because it's interesting. I'm like, okay. Okay, Mom.
Fair enough.
It's definitely a mentality that you get a lot of times when you're younger, especially. Is a lot of it is very much taught, and then when you keep seeing it online, like comment sections or stuff, you start like believing it. I'm like, oh my gosh, they want to shove it in our faces, da 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 da. And then yeah, I still see the whole trying to convert kids and everything. Which I'm like, apparently there was like a conversion. Thank you.
Yes, conversion.
There's like conversion camps to make kids gay, and I'm like, well, there's conversion camps to not make kids gay, but you think one's right and the other one is not right, even though it's, you know, forcefully against their own will. That's not right. Forcing things against your will is not right, because the Bible says that we have free will. Though being a criminal is not, whether you're straight or LGBT, being a criminal is not good anyway. But like, I mean, I spent a long time with him, so I knew he wasn't a bad kid. I knew that he wasn't trying to convert me. So it's like I used my own experience to try to not be so emotionally reactive. And so I tried watching a lot of like random videos about it. There was one, I don't remember his name. Oh my gosh. He popped up like a few months ago on my recommended feed, and I'm like, oh, I remember that guy. He was like, I think a Republican, and he would go around and like ask questions and all that stuff to both political parties. And I believe he was Republican. And there was one time where I think he was at a Pride. And he was asking like lots of people questions, you know, and he was like, what do you think Republicans should do to like blah, 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 blah. And he was like, well, I think Republicans should like, you know, do stuff that they're not comfortable with. And, you know, but he's actually the guy who was doing the questions. He's actually the type of guy who's like comfortable with lots of things. And so like in that video, as soon as the guy he was interviewing said, oh, they should be more comfortable doing non-comfortable things or whatever, he was being kissed by, I think, rather 2 gay guys or 2 trans guys on the cheeks on both sides.
Oh my goodness.
He has no problem with it.
Right.
And then there was one time where there was a voting thing, and a trans woman just like came up and they were like, you know, how's your experience? And she was like, you know, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, like I was just with the Republicans and they were like, you're not one of us, you're against us. And she was like, bitch, I'm a Republican. and you know, it's they're like, it's weird because they said, you know, anybody can be a Republican, but then I see a trans person and then they're immediately think they're a Democrat. I'm like, you're being hypocritical, bro. Relax. You know, you can ask them. There's no problem with asking. But it's definitely like if you're religious, it's definitely a religious thing. You know,
Right.
The Bible and all that. Even though, from my understanding, I know that every single chapter, something like that. Every single name has been in different languages, so it's possible that many Bibles like screwed up,
right,
and you know, tried doing it in the same language, and they end up getting the wrong translations, like the whole "men should not sleep with men" or something like that, and it turns out that the actual translation is "men should not sleep with children."
Yes,
which, you know, everybody agrees.
Right? Yeah. That's not up for debate here.
But there was this one random comment I saw that was like, nope, it actually does speak about gay people. And then I'm like, shoot, are you going to say what it is? You're going to look in your Bible to check? Because they keep saying, yeah, there is one. And I'm like, well, why aren't you telling us, bro? Like how hard it is to find this in the Bible is very, very hard. Because a lot of times they're so freaking vague. And I'm like, how am I supposed to know? I need you to tell me. I need you to write down the name of... and then the scripture, and then the verse. Please. You can't help the conversation if you're not putting in the source.
Yes.
Unless you heard it from somebody else, who heard it from somebody else, who heard it from somebody else, and they also didn't give you proof.
Yeah.
I would love to see the proof, please. But either way, for the longest time, I was like, oh my gosh, there's like gay people everywhere, and you know, they keep not wanting to shut up, and I'm just like, shut up. And then I'm like, well, I'm not white, but I was like doing the exact same thing to like Hispanics, Black people, and Asians. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing the exact same thing. And I'm like, but what about my race? And then I'm like, okay, I should be thinking about this a lot more than emotionally reacting. So I'm like reading books and all that stuff and blah, 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 blah. And so I'm like, okay, I can definitely understand where the other side is coming now. And, you know, I even believed when I started reading comics, oh my gosh, they're trying to turn everybody gay. And I'm like, no. And even if they are, it'd still be a minority.
Yes.
Of comic characters. Like, it's not that much.
I hear that all the time when it comes to comic book characters. They're trying, you know, every other week they're bringing out somebody gay, they're doing this. Where? Like, when I ask for an actual, like, proof, because last year during Pride Month, I went through all of the active characters. So I didn't go through, like, back catalogs of one they haven't used in, you know, 20 years or 30 years. And I went through and I did a percentage to straight to gay, and it ended up being 7.9% was actual queer characters. But you still hear those kind of narratives that they're turning everyone gay. Now, I will be the first to say that I have not been a fan of some of the retcons that they've done. Alan Scott, I've gotten used to. But it's always weird to me, especially last year. I believe it was either in the Pride anthology or the Green Lantern anthology, because this man was, it would have been a lot easier just to say he was bi, right? He had children.
But even if they said he was bi, would he still have accepted it anyway?
Would he have, or would the community at large?
The community, the audience.
I would like to think so.
I mean, look at Harley Quinn. Look at Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy.
Yeah.
They still think that there wasn't anything with them, even though the creator said yes, they were, but they couldn't because, you know, it's a freaking kid show.
Right.
But, you know, when you look at like Bruce Timm's drawings, you know, a lot of them are like pretty adult stuff. You're like, are you sure about that? But like, I remember I don't remember who Robert had on live, but they were talking about like about this issue, and I said, okay, so how many people are like in like there's 6 billion people or something like that, right?
Right.
And so the people who they say the LGBT people are like what, 4%?
you have
And
to break it down by demographic though also, because if you look at like if you're talking about people in the United States, you have to look at it I think by demographic, because you've got boomers that are like 4%, and then you've got millennials that are like 8%, but then you go to Gen Z, and because they feel more accepted and open, there is like 20% in the queer community. So I think
I will say that a lot of them do say they're LGBT for clout.
Yes, there are those types.
So let's say the boomer. Let's say the boomer is 4%. That 4% is 240,000 people. You're telling me there's 240,000 people in comic books that are LGBT?
Oh no.
If they're making everybody gay in this universe?
And the funny thing is you look at the main characters and they're all still generally the same. Like Diana, of course, we've talked about this last week. You know, she's been a queer icon for some time. You've got Linda Carter coming out saying that kind of stuff.
How dare Linda Carter pay her.
I know, right?
But God. She also said trans women are women, but nobody talked about that either. Somebody asked if trans women would be accepted into Themyscira, and she said yes, apparently.
Well, there is a trans woman now.
Really stupid in that comic.
Oh, Bia? Yeah, that was not well done. I wish they could have done that situation well.
I'm like, okay, so, you know, she died biologically as a man, but now has reborn biologically into a woman. And they're like, no, that's not how it's happening. And I'm like, what do you mean that's the simplest thing you could do? But no, she's trans as reborn. And I'm like, but if you're reborn, you shouldn't be trans.
Leave it to Vita Ayla to fuck up the simplest thing. No offense, but yeah, come on. They should have had somebody a little bit more talented, in my opinion, when it comes to that situation.
Or at least like an editor thing.
Yes.
Like
do your job.
Said that made sense. I remember looking at an interview. I don't even know who it was. It was a big comic book person. And they had these new editors, right? And the editor said something like, oh, something's wrong, but I can't pinpoint it on what's wrong. But I know that something is wrong. And so the person who gave the script to the editor took the paper, grabbed a freaking pen, and said, this is wrong, 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 this is what is wrong with the paper. And I'm like, he had to tell you. What kind of editors are you hiring? And then, you know, watching Cartoon and Comics on his video of what type of editors they're getting. Like, they're getting editors, like, really, like, straight out from freaking college or whatever, who's never had experience, you know? And I'm like, oh, that's kind of stupid. You can get somebody who, you know, finished college or whatever, but let them have experience of some sort, or at least teach them how to. Should there be like an editor schooling thing in DC and Marvel that they should make? All the older editors will teach the younger editors or something like that.
Or some sort of mentorship. And not only that, but they have a group editor and then they have individual editors. So somebody like the Bat Family, you've got Ben Abernathy, who I think is one of the best editors there. But then you go over to something like Wonder Woman. And I think off the top of my head, I think it's Mike Cotton. And it's just not very good. Not very good at all. I digress. We got a little bit off topic, but
we can just cut this out and put it as a BTS video. Not there BTS as in the Korean group. I mean behind the scenes.
There we go. So I get that a lot of it is you know, kind of you, like you mentioned, your dad and everything else. But it seems like even when it comes to your dad being more like seeing, and I could be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of seeing more representation of queer characters and everything else kind of made him almost evolve a little bit in his thinking. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I don't think it's true, though. I haven't told him John Kent is bisexual.
You haven't told him? He hasn't seen it in the news?
Nah, he doesn't watch the news. He reads the Bible. Like every single time I'm looking at him, he's rather doing something like one of his hobbies, which is like coin collecting. He's rather working 2 jobs, or his face is in a Bible, which is why I'm like, you know, every time I'm seeing somebody so rude and they say they're Christian and, you know, and then they say all this condescending stuff, which my father would never say. I'm just like, just read the Bible, dude. Like, instead of being mean to everybody, just read your Bible. My dad's always has a Bible in his face. You know, maybe you should follow the example.
Wow. I've never met anybody quite like that. The only thing I can even relate to is I grew up in a very Muslim dominated area, and my best friend when I was younger, her name was Fatima, and they would always have to go to church and go to mosque, but and they would have to, do certain amount of hours. They were very, I couldn't go right after school because she had to pray for an hour. I couldn't be there late at night because she had to pray for an hour. So seeing that kind of person interact with, it's very weird to describe my childhood. It's all sorts of fucked up. But because I grew up in that area, I also got along with men better generally. And by men, I mean straight up as gay as they come men. Just because I did not feel like threatened by them. So I was always able to, I'm very weird around men as it is. Very uncomfortable. Like, I won't go to a male doctor. I won't go, especially like any sort, even eye doctor. I'm like, do you got a girl? Like, I'm as sexist as it is. That's just how I am. So I went and kind of lived and grew up around either very religious Muslim people or very, very over the top. Like, my best friend was the most over the top gay man I have ever met. And the funny thing about it is they got along so well. There was never any sort of like clash. It was like, maybe I don't necessarily approve of your lifestyle, but I care more about the person behind it being happy, and that I can respect. Like, there are religious people out there that are absolutely against any sort of gay marriage and stuff like that. But you also have those amazing people out there, like my friend Fatima and her family, who were like, yeah, you're more than welcome. Come over for dinner. But we're still going to pray for you. Like, I don't know if necessarily I see that as a bad thing, because you still have the values of, like you said, your father, who is a godly man, but still has those values of treating people like human. And I think at the end of the day, that's kind of what's important, even when it comes to, pride celebration or whatever. As long as you care about the human behind it, that should be what matters.
Oh, I don't think he's going to take it well, though.
Oh, no.
He watched Superboy. He watched the Dean Cain one. I'm alive.
Oh, no. You think?
I'm like, hey, Dad, so you know Superboy? He's like, yeah, I know Superboy. And like, so in the comics, not related to like the shows you watched or anything, he's bisexual. I'm pretty sure he's going to do they're trying to make everybody gay now. Because I remember, his birthday's next week. This week.
Happy birthday, Bianca's dad.
So I'm trying to see if I saw Tevya have the CW Superman and Lois. I'm trying to see if I can get him that for his birthday.
Like the season stuff?
Yeah.
I watched season 1. It's so good.
I didn't finish season 1. I'm finishing everything else with my sister. We're almost done with Stargirl. So as soon as we're done with Stargirl, we finish the Lois and Superman show.
But what about the boys, Bianca? The boys.
I know. So I'm trying to see if I can break the ice by telling him while I give him the DVD, and he's like, "Wait, is he gonna be gay here?" And I'm like, "No, not that I know of." But I don't think they changed it in the show. From my I haven't watched season 2, but no, I don't think that's an But
issue.
I do think it's Greg Bertinelli, right?
Yes, it is.
So it's like whether he wants, he could say, "Oh, we're trying to follow the comics." So one of them is bi now, but you also have Jeff Johns on there. So
Jeff Johns always does a good job. He really does. Stargirl is a class act. Yeah, I do too. Stargirl is definitely the best, I think, and I really hope. I don't think it's been canceled like some of the other shows, but
no, it's been renewed for another season.
Yeah, I know it's got season 3. But I'm curious because they've gotten rid of like Legends of Tomorrow and Supergirl and Batgirl, and I know Flash is on its last season. Or Batwoman, I said Batgirl.
And Riverdale's gonna be gone too. Let's go.
And then they started that awful looking Gotham Knights show. Did you I know this is totally off subject. Did you see that trailer?
I purposely didn't see the trailer. Samuel sent me the cover, I guess, for the show, and I said, this looks worse than Riverdale. It's hilarious.
It looks so bad. It looks so bad. I'm like, I love these characters. Who the fuck are they? I don't recognize a single one of them, not even by color scheme. What is wrong with you? And I was like, the black
one. Oh, I'm like, I know the black one's Carrie Kelly. She got
right. Yep, it's exactly right. Redhead. Yeah. So let's talk about the second part of this. And like, Pride Month is being celebrated as we speak. We're talking about, queer characters. You see a lot of different companies bringing out, I talked earlier about the Pride anthology, which I still got to get through. I'm only to the Nubia story, but you're also seeing stuff like Poison Ivy that launched this month, or Multiversity. I think it's called Multiversity Teen Justice or something. I read it. It's good. I just can't remember what it's called.
Teen Justice, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And it was cute and it was fun, but they're, doing these different things for Pride. So at the end of the day, is it a celebratory thing or is it pandering?
I think, personally, that it's pandering.
Okay. Why? I think it can be both, but...
Wait, what did you say? I'm sorry.
I said why, but I think you're right in a sense, but I think it can be both, and I'll tell you why. But I'm curious why you think it's pandering.
Oh, I think it's pandering. I think it's pandering for all the right reasons, though. I don't think all pandering can be necessarily a bad thing.
That's a good point.
There was this show about a boy with autism trying to get used to like sexuality and sex and all that stuff, being that at the age he is, but it's difficult to handle because of his autism.
Right.
And to me, people were like, oh my gosh, they're trying to pander to people with autism. And everybody was like, the show's freaking good and it actually does it really well. And I'm like, oh, I stand corrected. It's pandering, but in a good way.
Right.
I mean, and I don't like being this type of person, but when I'm going to bring up anime and manga, I usually don't I try not to add it, but it does shape my perspective, which is why I'm going to mention it. So there's this thing called, yaoi, yuri, BL, GL, shoujoi, shonenai, which there's just many different types of BL, right?
Right.
So I remember reading a lot of them because I was like, I don't understand why girls are so obsessed with this. And I read GL, girls love, because I'm like, I don't understand why boys are so obsessed with this. And then it's just very interesting because it's gay, but everybody is gay. Everybody is gay. You have a boy classmate, he's gay too. You have a friend, he's gay too. You have a sister, she's a lesbian. There's a show about stepbrothers living together. They're all freaking gay. Everybody's gay. You're lucky if they even show the parents, and if they do, if they're even straight. A majority of times it is straight parents, but your friend, your relative, they're all freaking gay in that universe. Every single title, they're all freaking gay. And so it's fascinating to me, and I'm like, is this not pandering? Because this is heavily pandering.
Right.
It's like, oh my gosh, this entire school, they're all gay because it's an all-boys school. This entire all-girls school, they're all gay because it's an all-girls school. And it's like, everybody's freaking gay, man. And I guess this is, it's so weird. And so, which is why I'm just like, when people are complaining about, they're making everything gay, and I'm like, listen, I have delved in to the non-promised land, and You don't know what everything is gay is. Trust me.
Yeah.
Not everything is gay in the comic, but as soon as you read a boys love or a girls love comic, everybody's freaking gay. Your doctor will be gay.
Oh my gosh, I've
It's
never
like,
read anything like that.
The gay doctor is the one giving you advice on how to do everything, and it's like everybody's freaking gay. And I mean it in like a non-threatening, very kind way when I say you don't know what everything is gay is.
Oh my gosh. So is it any good though? That's the most important part.
So a lot of people, especially in comic books, sometimes cannot tell the difference between a yaoi or a shonen ai, which is apparent. It's like a light yaoi. Like the reason people prefer shonen ai over a yaoi is because shonen ai focuses more on story and character. The reason you read a yaoi is to see two guys constantly having sex with each other.
Okay.
Like that's literally all it is. That's all it is. So when I see people saying, "Oh my gosh, they're trying to pander to like the yaoi fangirls," what's it called? Son of Kal-El is just a yaoi book, and I'm just like, you don't know what a yaoi is. This is more of a shonen ai than anything. You know, they're trying to focus on character and story, even though it's more of a social commentary.
Right, I was gonna say there's at the worst a little bit of kissing, and I think that's only like once or twice even.
Oh, so it's like it's a lot less than a shonen ai, I guess.
No, yeah, I think maybe we've seen Jay and John kiss 3 times max, and no even like cuddling and canoodling, just like a goodbye kiss.
Canoodling.
and I think you bring up a really good point. Is when I asked, is it pandering or is it celebratory? People always look at pandering as a more of a pejorative, right? It's a bad thing. Pandering is not good. Da da da. Is it though? Like sometimes there are times when I know my demographic is being pandered to. Doesn't change the fact, like okay, for example, Catwoman right now by Teenie Howard. I have talked about how much I like this book because it is very pro-female. It is very like not girl power, because that's like, you know,
hashtag girl power, girl boss.
More like girl boss light. There we go. Because that is what Selena has always, you know, been to me, is a very like independent, fierce, sexy being. And that's what it feels like it is back to at this point. And I know Teenie Howard is pandering to that little bit of people that want that kind of girl boss attitude in Selena. It doesn't make it bad. That means she knows her demographic. She knows who to write this book for. And I don't think pandering is always a bad thing, but people always look for it as a bad thing because it can be pandering and celebratory at the same time. If you completely skipped, like, imagine DC Comics or Marvel going through the entire month, not doing anything. That would be dumb. From a capitalist standpoint alone, that would be dumb. And I know I always bring it back around to, well, that's capitalism for you, but it is.
It is capitalism.
These people
are trying to get money off of it.
Yes. And it's not even anything new. It's not even anything new. Like, they've been doing this for Black History Month, for Christmas, for different religious holidays, Easter. These things are
I get
normal.
Stuff on my my notifications. Oh my gosh, happy Jewish holiday. Here is your discount.
Really? I don't think I've ever gotten anything like that.
Because I support them indies, man.
Yeah, you do. You're really good about that. But yeah, I don't think pandering necessarily is a bad thing, and I think some people almost appreciate it, right? Like, when you take a look at the queer representation in comic books, even with the narrative that it is so huge and massive, it's really not. Like, maybe I would say Son of Kal-El and Aquaman are the only 2 books right now that are queer-led. out of 80 a month or something like that. Like from DC alone. I can't think of any other book. I know that Multiversity and then Poison Ivy. So say even 4 out of
Anything
60.
for Wonder Woman at the moment?
Oh yeah, Wonder Woman. Okay, that is a good point. Wonder Woman. So 5-6 out of 60. Like, even in the Bat family, we don't have a Batwoman book. We don't have anything for Renee Montoya. We don't have those type of books. So a little bit of pandering goes a long ways with the people that need to read it. And I know, like, people are getting sick of the representation argument, but it works. It works. People want to see themselves in a character. They don't necessarily have to agree with everything. That's the one problem I have with the representation argument is, like, you have people taking it down to, like, I need to see, even though I'm going to use this as an example, even though I like her book, Eat, Bang, Kill, it was really, really good. T. Franklin, like, you don't need a character that is queer, disabled, autistic. You see what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to relate to every trait. And a lot of times it's just personality traits. But a lot of times you have a younger demographic, and even younger than us per se, wanting to see queer characters. And diving into that market, just like you mentioned manga does, is really smart from a capitalist standpoint. It's really smart to, like, go on TikTok alone. Go on TikTok alone, and you will see the Gen Zers talking about everything. Sometimes I don't even understand it all myself when it comes to LGBTQ or, yeah, pretty much that's it. But
that reminds me. In Japan is having an event with Spain for Pride Month. And I guess it's going to be talking about like what can they do to improve and all that stuff, like an actual discussion, and maybe like do
really?
An art collab. What happened?
No, I said really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I found it out on like animenewsnetwork.com. Like it was just some random thing that popped up, and I'm like, that's super interesting. Like they're having an art show in Spain, and so unfortunately I thought this was going to be like a live, and so I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll just watch the live. It'll be like you'll have a translator probably and all that stuff, and I'm like, no, this isn't an actual physical event that you have to go to. Like literally have to go to Spain to watch the conversation, and I'm like, well, that freaking sucks. I can't go.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I'm like, I didn't think they would be interested in something like this, especially like Spain and Japan. That's a really weird matchup.
Yeah, that is really weird, but it's still kind of cool. Like a little bit of.
I really wanted to know what they were gonna freaking talk about. Kind of disappointed, and it's all your fault, Tristan.
I'm sorry. I told him don't allow Bianca to see.
No.
Yeah, I had no idea, but then again, it brings up another issue, like talking about pandering. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the stuff with, I guess it would be Star Wars. I don't know the character's name.
Reva? Are you talking about the black one?
No, the older movies, it's a black male.
Lando.
They made him, like, going over to China. They're super racist. They change the size, or they take out the queer representation. Like, a lot of people reported.
Oh, wait, you mean the newer Star Wars series, not the older ones?
Fuck, I don't know. It's Star Wars.
There's the guy who plays Finn.
I think that's his name.
John Boyega.
Yes, him.
Was edited out. I mean, not edited out. He was like edited to go to like the back or like shrunken.
Yeah.
And then I believe in the last episode of the trilogy for the newer one, there was 2 girls kissing, but apparently some theaters had it, some didn't, but they did edit it out for China.
And they did the same with Eternals, but a lot of people reported that they actually did it only for the queer representation, but they actually took out any kissing, like any, I think that was in Saudi Arabia, I want to say. They took out any sort of PDA. Which, again, I see that as more of an issue, because if you're going to stand, and I get it, we're going back to a lot of people criticizing this because of the hypocrisy, but then you can really argue and say, well, it's capitalism again at its finest, right? these companies wanting to make money in these bigger markets. My issue with that is stand by your talent. Like, I see that as much more of an issue than anything else, because if you're going to put in any sort of queer representation, stand by it. If you're going to put in people of color, stand by it. Don't change it because of a more racist or homophobic different part of the world, right? And unfortunately, that's kind of not how capitalism works, but I see that as an issue. More than anything else, more than pandering, more than retconning, more than any of this. The issue is you need to stand by your talent. And I actually applaud, even though I don't necessarily always agree with everything they said. One company that's really good about standing by their talent is Netflix. They stood by Dave Chappelle. And they've stood by, remember when that whole stuff was going around with the girl that played Faye in Cowboy Bebop?
Yeah.
They stood by her. They have no problem standing up to whether it's the right or left that are, asking for Dave to be removed or asking for more skin on Faye. They stand by their talent, and that's very rare. Like, Disney nowadays doesn't give a fuck. Disney does not care. They care about that bottom dollar, whether it is, making more representation or taking it away on the other side of the earth. That I have issue with. And then to add insult to injury and stuff like Milan, they thanked some of the areas that had the Uyghur camps. Oh, what are you, fucking stupid? What's wrong with you guys? Why would you thank people like that?
Just a bunch of freaking weirdos. Oh, I forgot. Did you see Burger King's Pandering?
Okay, this one I don't understand. Isn't it 2 bottom buns or 2 top buns or something?
Yes.
I don't get it.
Same
sex. Is it a joke? Wait, I still don't get it. It's a bun. Like, are they saying like somebody's a bottom and somebody's a top?
No, it's just supposed to be like the same if somebody was in a same-sex relationship.
Okay.
But it was only in like Austria or Australia or something. I knew it started with an A. And the thing is, like, I actually wanted to try it. I'm like, yo, I love sesame seed. You're telling me I can have 2 sesame seed buns? Let's go. And then it got backlash, so they're not doing it anymore. And I'm like, dang it. I didn't care if it's so stupid. I just wanted to try it. Like, how is that going to even freaking stand on its own? It can't, because it's freaking circle. The 2 bottom buns were, like, disappointing because I thought those were 2, like, Texas toast bread. And I was thinking, yo, that sounds freaking delicious. And then I realized it's just 2 bottom buns. And I'm like, that's boring. I'm interested now. You could have done something.
I didn't get that one. I'm not gonna lie, like, I was so confused. I heard about it, but I was like, why? What makes sense?
I mean, remember what they did during oh my gosh, what was it? It was it International Women's Month or something like that? Or International
They told people women belong in the kitchen or something like that. Fucking Burger King. Okay, that was actually really funny and like super smart marketing, because they were like, right after, like, and we want to help.
Apply to Burger King now.
I kind of love it.
Good.
Yeah. Like, I don't get why did that get backlash? Because
just for the first part.
Because of the being a bottom or something? I don't understand
it. Oh, you're talking about the buns.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I literally don't understand why somebody would be offended.
Mostly, from what I saw, I just went onto Twitter, of course, Twitter, and I put Burger King to see who's talking about Burger King, and they're like, great, I have to think of gay people when I eat now. Great, they're shoving burgers' sexuality in my faces now. And then there was actual politicians doing the same thing. They're like, really, Burger King? I'm not going to eat Burger King anymore, because, like, I don't, like, that's disgusting. You're trying to pander and our kids eat Burger King and all that stuff. And they're like, great, I have to think of gay sex when I eat a Burger King burger. I'm not eating Burger King anymore. And I'm like, what? Are you
That
thinking
says more about
sex
you.
when you eat a burger from Burger King? That's
You're
pretty
kidding?
freaking weird, bro.
That is so weird.
Like,
Like,
are you sure you're not covering up something? You okay?
I
Are
mean,
you
that
in the
happens way too
closet?
often. That happens way too often. That it's funny that you mentioned that because this isn't a spoiler or anything, but on The Boys, they kind of address how many like Republicans are closeted. One being specifically a sit-in for Tucker Carlson. It's fucking hilarious. You have to watch it.
I know. I'm watching stuff with my brother, and when we finish whatever we're finishing, like we're almost done with Demon Slayer, we're almost done with Durarara, we're almost done with what the frick are we watching? Assassination Classroom. We're watching like 6 things, and I only named like 3. Oh, Peacemaker is one of them, even though that's not anime. That's 4. That's
But
4.
Peacemaker is awesome.
Baki. That's 5.
Holy crap,
I wonder
lady.
if that's it.
Holy crap. We should probably wrap up, but yeah, I think out of all of this, you made a good point. Pandering doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. And it also doesn't have to be a thing that you get offended over, right?
I mean, would you rather pandering, like all this intense pandering for like 1 month, or do you prefer the pandering all over the year? I'm pretty sure people who are not interested in that are like, yeah, you would prefer 1 month over than the entire year, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I don't see an issue with this. And I know a lot of people are like, well, why is it prideful? Why do you have to talk about it? Because for a long time, a lot of people felt a sense of shame. And now being able to celebrate it, even when you get, of course, people that are going to be terrible. I seen somebody last week in my live stream put Happy Pride, and just a bunch of people were terrible to him. And I felt terrible. I felt so bad because I know the man, and I know he's a gay man, and he was just excited, right? So I feel bad. I feel bad about those kind of things. I think I think there needs to be just, keep up with the it sounds terrible. Keep up with the pandering. Keep it up. The only reason I say that is because if people aren't exposed to other lifestyles, they get stuck in their own kind of rut, and they're able to then live through somebody else, understand somebody else's journey, understand somebody else's struggles, and understand what they're going through, or what it's like coming out, or what it's like, being in the closet, or what it's like to try to date as a gay person. And if you can understand those things, there's a little bit more empathy. So yeah, I don't think the pandering's bad. I think it's a necessary thing that needs to be done.
I mean, didn't the woman who played Elvira or whatever, she came out, and then she also got a lot of backlash for it because she did come out, and I'm like, that's pretty weird. Like, you guys loved her. You guys are like, this is the type of woman who panders to boys, and she knows how to do fan service, and she's great. And then she was comfortable enough with you guys to come out, and you guys get all angry at her.
Because of course.
She wasn't doing it to brag. She was like, hey, you guys are my fans. I'm sharing something with you in confidence, and you just attack her for it?
Yep.
And they're like, well, I don't care about your sexuality. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure a majority of you thought she was straight because of what she was wearing and what she did for you guys. Which is a job. Doesn't mean you have to be straight to do that job.
No, but exactly. And then the people that they pretend or do necessarily like, they turn on so quickly, and I don't understand it. I don't understand any of it. It takes some time for me to wrap my head around sometimes, just because it comes from a place of, I feel like it comes from a place of
sensitivity. I'm just kidding.
Yes, but also a little bit of ignorance. And that's why I think exposing people to other lifestyles is important, because if you can understand someone, you can empathize with someone. And
I wonder if it's due to any type of fear as well.
Like the fear of people saying over and over again, they're grooming.
Yeah, something like that.
Or like the fear of, oh, goodness gracious, people like Matt Walsh coming out and saying they're trying to turn all the kids trans, and yeah. I think that
fear it's like both, I guess.
Yeah,
mean,
and
I saw his non-review of Turning Red, and all he did was like read like the 1-star reviews and then believed them. He's like, now I don't have to watch the movie because they're telling me right here, and I'm like, no, they're not. They're freaking lying. They're not even. They didn't like everything that happened. I was like, no, that didn't happen. I'm like, no, that's not the point of the story. No, 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 no. And you believed it.
Matt Walsh is a fucking idiot, though. Like, one of the absolute worst. He uses that fear that you're talking about and cashes in on it. And he knows what he's doing. He absolutely
he
knows.
made a trans movie or something like that.
Yeah, what I'm not gonna spend my money to see something like that.
Just watch for Pride Month. I'm just kidding.
Oh my god, it's called What Is a Woman or something, and he did about 6 months ago, I would say. He tried to get a bunch of trans people in the community. They like posed as they were making this amazing documentary, putting trans people in a good light. And they posed as other people and really, really shadily tried to get these people on camera. And they figured out who it was, but the whole idea around this is, and again, I haven't seen it, so I can't speak to it. I can only speak to what he did around it. It's pretty fucking shady.
I didn't think there would be shadiness with something like this. Well, no, I guess maybe I should.
Nah.
There's shadiness with everything nowadays.
Yeah, it's very, very profitable. It's very easy to sit at stuff and look at it and use that fear in order to make books like Matt Walsh has done about trans people, and then claim that the others are indoctrinating kids. Like, he has no self-awareness. He is one I am very much so not a fan of.
I don't think you've even heard of him before. I think you are the reason why I've heard of him before.
He's one of that group, like the Ben Shapiro group, Daily Wire people. Yeah, you're not missing anything. I promise you. I promise. Freaking crazy ass people. But yes, instead of cashing in on people's fears, cash in on their love. Like, whoever they love. That's the best thing I can say about it, because it ended kind of dark there.
I mean, like, as an example, like, I was irritated for the longest time of how Fire Emblem, Nathan Seymour from Tiger and Bunny, like, I criticized how the creator did the character, and then, finally looking into, like, a lot of research, I'm like, okay, so I may have criticized you too much. I see that you actually did try, and, I apologize for that. I retract my statement of, whatever I said. But the creator who created Poison from Street Fighter, that I still have a problem with.
I don't know that character.
So it's a girl with, like, big gigantic pink hair, booty shorts, whip, and when he first created her, he wasn't allowed to, because it was a girl. So he created her into a guy, and this was like in the 90s. So I believe it was in the 90s. It was the 80s or 90s. And then later on, I think it was a guy for like a first couple of the games, and then he was finally able to make it into a female. And then he was like, so I guess I'll just make her trans. And I'm just like, no.
That's not quite how that works.
First and foremost, and you were just forced to change him into a guy. Just say that for all the others, like, where it was a dude, just imagine it was a woman. A really ugly woman with a gigantic mohawk. But like, it's like, I still have a thing with that. I'm like, I don't want to see it as trans because it wasn't supposed to be male in the first place.
Right.
And but lots of people like that it's trans for, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, right. I still freaking hate it. I hate that. I hate that.
I just looked her up. She's cute.
Yeah, she's great.
She's
and it wasn't just her. It was she had like a sidekick or something like that, and she was also changed into a guy, because so they're both trans, and I'm just like, no, I hate. But the thing is, he was asked multiple times, multiple interviews, is she trans? Is she trans? Is she trans? Is she trans? And he's like, you know what? It's whatever you want now. If you think she's trans, she's trans. If you don't, then she's not. Because, having to be asked that, constantly, and all that stuff, and to the point where he had to like even change his answer. And then I'm like, oh, you like sorry about this, bro. I'm sorry about what happened, you know. I'm not going to see her as trans, though. And that's just me. You can see her as trans. I don't have a problem with it. I just find that very irritating that you have to make her trans because she was forced to be a guy.
Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, I'm looking her up because I didn't recognize the name. I like Street Fighter, but I didn't recognize the name. But she's super fucking cute. I mean,
the new Street Fighter looks very interesting.
I was going to ask you. It looks so good, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm like, oh man, don't make me want a Street Fighter game. I'm a King of Fighters person.
Oh my god, it looks so good, like, though.
I'm not gonna lie, the way they did the muscles and everything in Street Fighter is how I wanted them to do in King of Fighters. Because a lot of them are like, I'm like, okay, listen, you're too big. You gotta dial it down. And then the guys are like, the guy fans are like, see, this is what women want, muscle upon muscle upon muscle, and this is what we want to see the guys as too. And I'm like, no, I don't, that's too much.
Yeah, I'm not a muscle person.
Please.
Even in real life, I'm not a muscle person. Like, give me a good dad bod, I'm good. Like, I'm not a muscle person.
Oh, they look so cute though.
Oh goodness, yeah, it looks amazing. Like, that was the one out of the thing they just did, the games thing, that looked the best to me. Like, they had a Marvel one that would look dumb and some other stuff, but that one was like the highlight.
There is one person, there is one character that they just revealed. Like, they haven't really revealed anything about it. They showed the picture, and a few people are wondering if it's a girl or a guy. It's huge, gigantic, muscly character, but has like a red bob.
Is it a new character?
What happened?
Is it a new character?
It's a new character. I've never seen this character in my life before. And so I'm like, okay, is it a girl or is it a guy? Is it a girl who just has a really ugly bob? Is it a guy who just likes bobs? I don't know. I'm kind of hoping it's a girl because of the bob. But if it is a girl, I wonder if it's going to get like good reception.
I don't know. I haven't seen. You have to send me the picture. I don't know, but the game looks. What's Street Fighter 6? I think it looks so good. I can't wait for that one. And then there's another one called Angry Fight. It looks so good. Like, there was a lot of good games announced. I'm excited about. I just hope we get a God of War, because I know like the Bethesda and Xbox one is coming up in 20 minutes, and I'm hoping we get like a God of War thing. Come on now, we need some God of War. How long has it been
since the last God of War?
Way too long.
Really?
I don't know. Yeah.
I thought it was
probably
like
3 or 4
years ago.
Yeah, it was only maybe 3 years ago. Yeah, but still,
Can they make another one in 3 years?
Yeah, why not?
Well, let's see.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna wrap up, but thank you, Bianca. Is there anything that we missed?
If it is, I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. But yes, quit getting offended over pride. Just let somebody be happy. That's all it is. At the end of the day, that's just let somebody fucking live their life. That's all people want. Lesson learned, easy enough. All right, we will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.